disappearance day of Ramadas Thakur. So we're going to sing the prayers to the departed Vaishnavas and the hymn. And if we have time, we'll read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ye anilo premadana oruna pracho premadana pracho. Last page. Ye anilo premadana Oruna Pacho Nilo Prema Dana Oruna Pracho Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Ako Kota Gela Chayata Ahamura Swarupa Ahasanata Swarupa Asanata Tahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Raghunatha Patita Pavan Tahamura Bhatta Yuga Taha Kabira Swarupa Taha Kabira Eka Kale Kopta Gela Gora Natara Gela Gora Natara Asane Kutipo Mata Anale Pasibo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kotagele Babo Samba Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Bila Bila Tande Ye Koilo Bila Te Sangama Paya Kande Naro Tamada Tamada Ye Anilo Premadana Koruna Pracho Premadana Pracho Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Chaya Ako Kata Prema he who brought the treasure of divine love, and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where is such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where is my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Sri Gurudev. So as we mentioned, today is Vrindavan Das Thakur's disappearance day, so read here about him. His pranam mantra is Veda Vyaso Ye E Evasid Daso Vrindavano Guna Sakaya Usman Pita Karyatas Tam Sama Visat. Vedavyas became Vrindavan Das Thakur, Krishna's friend, Kusmapida, also entered into him for the sake of the Lord's pastime. That's from the Gaura Ganades Dipika 109. So everybody knows what Vyas is. He's the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. And also our disciplic succession goes way back. Also, Vrindavan Das Thakur is also in our disciplic succession, I guess. It's a Shiksha line, and he's one of our Shiksha gurus. You know, we got Prabhupada, and then you've got Diksha's Bhaktisiddhanta. His Diksha's Gaura Das Babaji. Then it becomes Shiksha from that point on. And we have Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then it's Baladev Vidyabhushan and Jagannath Das Babaji, two of them together. And then it's Vrindavan Das Thakur, then Narottam Das Thakur, and Krishnadas Kaviraj. You can see the books that we read, why Bhaktisiddhanta set this up. This is actually our prominent line. There's a Diksha line. Most people, I think maybe some people might search it up, but we have to respect Bhaktisiddhanta and what he did. So Vedavyas described Krishna Lila in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Non-different from Vyas, Vrindavan Das described Mahaprabhu's Leela in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. This book was first called Chaitanya Mangala, but when Lochan Das later gave the same name to his biography, the Lord, it was dubbed Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's a very nice, elaborate book, as we'll read here. Also, he's also the very last disciple of Nityananda. Well, the very last one. So he's very close, very intelligent. So Vrindavan Das' mother's Narayani mother. Vrindavan Das was born on the Krishna Dwadasi of the month of Vaishakha in 1429 of the Saka era. That's 1507 AD. Some say he was born in Mangachi in the Nawab area. Others say his birthplace is Kumarahata. His father was Vaikuntanath Vipra, who originally came from Shilet. His mother was Narayani Devi. Narayani was the daughter of Srivas Pandit's elder brother, Srina Lina Pandit. He had 5 brothers, Srivas. Apparently this- Kavi Kanapur was also mentioned, has also mentioned her name in the Gora Ganadesh Deepika. Kilimbika, who used to eat Krishna's remnants, was the young sister of Krishna's nurse, Ambika, Srivasa's wife, Malini. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, she became Narayani. Narayani also achieved fame because Gaura Sundar bestowed his mercy on her when he gave her his remnants. Narayani was only a small child of 4 when the Lord displayed his divine form in the Mahaprakash in Srivasanga, but the Lord still made her intoxicated with ecstasy. This Mahaprakash was 21 hours of ecstasy. There was a kirtan. For 21 hours, they had this kirtan, and Lord Chaitanya revealed himself to all those who were simple, differently to each one. You know, and those who weren't there, like Srivas, not Srivas, but Kolavecha Sridhar. He called, where's Kolavecha Sridhar? He wasn't there. Only Lord Chaitanya knew who he was, really, what he was. You know, they're all his associates. These primarily was his associates, and then obviously there were sadhakas who got mixed in with it. So they call it Srivas. You know the pastime with Srivas's history. You know, he sold banana leaves and cups. So he called him, and he also, this is towards the end of that, and he revealed to him who he actually was, because he always used to argue with Kolavecha Sridhar about the price of the cups. So that's the Mahaprakash pastime. Okay. Whether born in Mamgachi or in Marhat, Vrindavan Das, apparently there's a little bit of discrepancy. You know, same with Haridas Thakur. You know, a little bit, not 100% settled, but Pulia was mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, where he's from. Okay, so Vrindavan Das Thakur spent part of his childhood with his mother in Mamgachi at the home of his maternal grandparents, where Narahari was married. Vrindavan Das Thakur, Gauranitai deities are still worshipped at the Mamgachi home. When his father died, he and his mother moved to Srivasa's house, where they received Mahaprabhu's special blessings. Vrindavan Das later moved to the village of Denur in the Matreshvara precinct in Budwan district. Thus, Denur is considered to be his Shripat. So Vrindavan Das writes Chaitanya Bhagavat. It is well known that Vrindavan Das received propitious blessings from Nityananda Prabhu, and he was therefore said to have been his initiated disciple. Vrindavan Das is the recipient of Nityananda's mercy. He is the original Vyas of Chaitanya's pastimes. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anchali, chapter 20, text 82. Vrindavan Das wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat in 1535 AD. It's almost 500 years, pretty close. Subtract 10 years. Go. Krishnadas Kaivaras Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Bhagavat, praised him and his work in the following words. Vrindavan Das, the son of Narayani, wrote the Chaitanya Mangala. Vedavyas described Krishna's life in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vrindavan Das is the Vyas to Chaitanya Leela. Vedavyas told the story of Krishna's pastimes in the Bhagavatam. Vrindavan Das Thakur performed the duties of Vasudeva in recounting the pastimes of Chaitanya. His Chaitanya Mangala annihilates all misfortune. From it, I learned the wonders of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and came to know all the simplest doctrines of devotional service to Krishna. Damodar Thakur has summarized the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam's teaching in his Chaitanya Mangala. If even an atheist or a Muslim should listen to Chaitanya Mangala, he immediately becomes a great Vaishnava. An ordinary human being could not have comprised such a sublime work. Lord Chaitanya himself has spoken through the mouth of Vrindavan Das. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur, who has delivered the entire universe through his book. He was born in the womb of Narayani, who eternally enjoys Sri Chaitanya remnants. How wonderful is his description of the activities of the Lord. Simply by hearing them, the three worlds have become sanctified. That's also from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 8, 34, 42. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur primarily narrates Mahaprabhu's early life, such as his childhood, his student life, his chastisement of the Kasi, his departure from Nawab, as well as some aspects of his life in Puri. He then became so absorbed in describing Nityananda's Prabhu's Leela that he only gave an abbreviated account of Mahaprabhu's later life. Nityananda later elaborated on these undescribed activities in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. So at the end of Chaitanya Bhagavat in the Ancha Leela, this is where he talks about Lord Chaitanya's body. But that last section, even though he mentioned there's chapters where he talks about Nityananda even early on, but he spends a lot of time at the end of the book talking about Nityananda, who is his guru, who is the source of his inspiration. Vrindavan Das is the authorized biographer of Chaitanya Mangala and equal to Sri Vyasadeva. He has described the Lord's pastimes in such a way that they become sweeter and sweeter. He was afraid of excessively enlarging his book, so he left some parts of Mahaprabhu's life untold. I shall try as far as possible to fill in these empty spaces. So therefore you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which tells of his early life, but primarily of his life after he takes sannyas. So this is the two. So we actually have the complete works of the Lord Chaitanya. Vrindavan Das criticisms of Vaishnav Aparad. Vrindavan Das showed infinite mercy on the fallen souls by warning them. If someone blasphemed the Vaishnavas, even after being told how objectionable it is, I will kick him on the head. These are some of the words. These same words are repeated several times throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some foolish and arrogant persons misunderstand such statements and criticize Vrindavan Das for having made them. Such criticism lead them to be marred in the bog Vaishnav Aparad. And these other things like, those who offend Lord Chaitanya, those who offend Nityananda, well, he said, I will kick them on the head. Yeah, so not unusual. And of course, one we have, the Chaitanya Bhagavat we have, has Bhaktisiddhanta's commentaries. And these are some really, really nice commentaries. So in this connection, the remarks of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, founder of the Sri Chaitanya Math, and all the Gaudiya Maths are well worth studying. I'm ready to kick the head of those envious and hellish persons who blaspheme Nityananda Prabhu. If by doing so, I will be able to forever prevent them from repeating their attempts to show disrespect to the Supreme Lord. Not only that, but if by so doing, I can bring about a clear conception of the truth, I will be performing them greatest service. So here's this motive. It's always help the living person through divinity. So Vrindavan Das, the incarnation of Vyas, Acharya, of the Vaishnav's faith. If even a single fleck of dust should fall from Vrindavan Das' foot onto the head of a sinful blasphemer, then that person will be blessed and all his sinful condition will inevitably be eradicated. With these words, the Thakur reveals compassion for even the most atheistic blasphemer with an understanding, with an unswerving faith appropriate to a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, the Supreme Guru. He tells such people that though they should be the object of indifference due to their foolishness, nevertheless, he and other compassionate Vaishnavas like him who practice and preach the Lord's doctrines unselfishly and disinterestedly act for the welfare despite their ignorance of the truth of Nityananda. Their instance of rushing headlong onto the path of hell and their reluctance to act in their own real self-interest. Compassionate manifested in Vrindavan Das Thakur's statement is beyond the comprehension of those who do not know what is truly in their own self-interest. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Vrindavan Das in both practices and preaches Vaishnava religion will always be engaged in an effort to bring about everyone's ultimate well-being. Though he may be a show of wanting to punish the enemies of the Lord, in fact, harbors a compassion towards them that no one knows. Vrindavan Das Thakur disappeared on the day of Krishna Dasmani of Vaishakhi. There is some dispute as to the exact year of his disappearance, which was likely 1511 Saka, which is 1589 AD. Okay, so there we have. Think anybody want to add? Not, we'll continue with Chaitanya Bhagavat. Thank you. Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we are at text 248. We're still in this modulated chapter 8. 248 is 350 texts. This is a reminder to go on this chapter. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, of all kinds of distress, what is the most painful? Sri Ramananda replied, apart from separation from the devotee of Krishna, I know of no unbearable happiness. Concerning this, the Lord states in the Vedic literature, a person who does not worship me, who is unduly attached to family, who does not stick to devotional service, must be considered a most unhappy person. Similarly, one who does not associate with Vaishnavas, who does not render service to the superior, is also a most unhappy person. There's also the following statement in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And of all kinds of desirable things experienced in the life of a living entity associated, then the association with the devotees of the Lord is the greatest. When we are separated from a devotee, even for a moment, we cannot enjoy happiness, especially for when we've spent some time in the association of devotees. You might not realize it at first, but you spend some time away, after a while, because the energy disappears, the association. So there's an energy there. And that's from the volume 1, chapter 5, text 54. 249. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then inquired, out of all liberated persons, who should be accepted as the greatest? Ramananda Roy replied, he who has love for Krishna has attained the topmost liberation. Report. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 4, 14, text 5, it is said, O great sage, of the millions of liberated persons, and of the millions who have attained perfection, he who is a devotee of Lord Narayan is very, very rare. Indeed, he is the most perfect, peaceful persons. And that's a lot of people, for liberated persons. Millions of people. That's who attain going to Vaikuntha, Mayavadis. That's a lot of people. This Krishna consciousness is rarely achieved, what we're trying to achieve. Krishna comes, Lord Chaitanya comes once in the day of Brahma, out of 1,000 cycles, 4 billion, 334,000 years, 32,000 years. In 4 cycles. That's Earth years. That's not a long period of time. But we have a 10,000-year period which we have the opportunity to describe. Golden Age. Golden Age means the opportunity. It's not like the planet becomes like a heavenly planet. It does, in a sense, spiritual, like temples. These are spiritual places. They've been spiritualized. That's why when one leaves the association of devotees, this separation takes place because you're leaving, to a certain degree, a spiritual atmosphere. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next asked Ramananda Roy, among many songs, which song is considered the actual religion of the living entity? And Ramananda Roy replied, that song describing the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are superior to other songs. Srimad Bhagavatam is a song. Here we go. This is one of my favorite verses. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-36. This really goes to our compassion, our faith. Lord Krishna descends apparently as a human being, and he exhibits his transcendental pastimes, so that the devotional soul, so that the conditioned soul may be attracted to hearing his transcendental activities. Non-devotees are strictly prohibited from participating in the songs celebrating the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, unless one is a devotee. It is very dangerous to hear the songs about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna that were written by Jayadev Goswami, Chandidas, and other exalted devotees. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison, but one should not imitate this. One must first become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Only then can one enjoy hearing the songs of Jayadev and relish the transcendental bliss. If one simply imitates the activities of Lord Shiva and drinks poison, one will certainly meet with death. The talks between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy meant for advanced devotees only, those who are not mundane, or those who are on the mundane platform, and who study these talks in order to put forward some thesis for a PhD will not be able to understand them. Instead, these conversations will have a poisonous effect. So that first is, it was not mentioned here, but 10:33-36 is kind of, because it's kind of like, it's like there's a prescription, and this is like the medicine that cures. It says that one who hears and describes the playful affairs of the gopis will attain pure devotional service. They will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So in one sense, talking about it cures the poisonous effects of this material world. This is how we do it. It cures the poisonous effects of material nature. And so we're also being cautioned, of course, Jayadev Goswami, that we're particularly mentioning here, that's the book that's called Govinda Lila Amrita. It's a book about Krishna's pastimes. And they're just some of these pastimes we read about in the 10th canto. We read some of these pastimes. But it's just totally elaborated. And it's broken down in Krishna's 8 daily pastimes. It's his days, his 24 hours is all broken down. And that's what Krishna Jayadev Goswami done. Each section of that day, he's broken it down and what Krishna is doing at that particular time. Of course, the noon activities, when he was Radharani are very confident. And we have this Julian Yatra festival every year. And in that part of the book, he breaks down all the different types of swing festivals that they have, different types of swings that Krishna plays on. They're all described. And then at night, obviously, with the Rasa Leela at night, those things are described. But it's always been very cautioned how one talks about these pastimes. We're said that those who describe these affairs and hear about them will attain pure devotional service. So this has to be done in the association of devotees. And Krishna set that example because he did it in the association of 3.5 people. He's intimate. That was Ramananda Roy, who we're having a talk here, Sikhi Mahidi, Swarup Damodar, and Sikhi Mahidi's sister. Those are the people that, and she was very fortunate that she could hear these pastimes. It was 3.5 described because of Lord Chaitanya. It's a sannyas. There was some distance. She had to hear from a distance, like Maitreya Muni. When Uddhava Gita was spoken, when Krishna and Uddhava were speaking together, we read that pastime. Maitreya Rishi was sitting. Sometimes we have there's this saying, if I could have been a fly on the wall inside that room, and I could have heard that conversation that went on. Well, this is a situation where the Lord himself made an arrangement for Maitreya to be in that proximity so he could hear everything that was said. And so immediately after that, Maitreya leaves, Uddhava leaves, Krishna leaves, and Uddhava runs into Vidura. I think we're talking 2nd canto, 3rd canto. And so he wants to add, he informs them that Krishna's leaving, and of course, Vidura's wanting some information, and then he tells them, you should go talk to Maitreya, because Maitreya was there, and so therefore we have that subject matter. So, proper place, proper time, and in the association of the proper people, these can be discussed. Okay. I mean, I have that book. I did read it. I had it on my bookcase for years. The Govinda Lila Amrita. And I would be chant my japa, and that book would be sitting over there in my bookcase, and for years, because you can't read the book. I'm not qualified to read it, but I read it anyway. I just couldn't. At one point, I said, "Forget it. I'm going to read this book." After years of ignoring it, I just couldn't take it in. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Even though I read all the books I had, that one was like, it was just like still sitting there. And then I said, forget it. I'm reading it. So I got some nectar. Krishna was merciful to me, even though I was unqualified. I just couldn't control myself. This was just normally me, But I really like the pastimes about those swing pastimes. They're really some beautiful descriptions of Vrindavan, how it transforms automatically in the moods of Krishna and Radharani and the gopis, whatever mood they're in. The flowers will bloom a particular way, and the colors will go a particular way. And in one description, it talks about when the swing ceremony, it could be like misty rain would fall. And you know how rain would hit, like in leaves. And they would come to the end of that leaf, and it little drips off. But at that point, it would be like a pearl. It would turn into a pearl. So the entire change into that, it's just, it's unimaginable. There's some descriptions of it, but I mean, if I'm sure y'all will get there before me if I ever get there at all. This is completely amazing that how Vrindavan must be. That's all love. It's all different manifestations of love. How the rain drops, how the flowers manifest themselves. It's all pure love. And that's the atmosphere. Okay, so we're at 251. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, out of auspicious and beneficial activities, which is the best for the living entity? Ramananda Roy replied, the only auspicious activity is the association of the devotees of Krishna. Purport. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 11.230, we are asking you to tell us what is the most perfect welfare activity. I think that in this material world, association with devotees, even if it to be for a moment, is the greatest treasure for mankind. And of course, we can never really appreciate it. We try by our service to show appreciation, to reciprocate. And one of the greatest examples is Narada Muni. Just a little bit of association, you got the remnants, and there's a lot of stories like this, just a little bit. And look where it got him, ultimately. 252. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks, what should all living entities constantly remember? Ramananda Roy replied, the chief objects of remembrance are always the Lord's holy name, qualities, and pastimes. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, Chapter 2, Text 36 states, Sukadeva Goswami concludes, the business of the living entity is to always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every circumstance. The Lord should be heard about, glorified, and remembered by all human beings. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further inquired, out of many types of meditation, which is required for all living entities? Sri Ramananda Roy replied, the chief duty of every living entity is to meditate upon the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So we have so many descriptions about Krishna. We have the deities, so that we have ways that we can meditate. Like what Irmala talks when she gave her passion. Everybody talks to Krishna to some extent. You know, there's some communication. A lot of people talk to God, but don't really do it on a personal platform. But there's communication. So it's just taking it to a very detailed level. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 2, Text 14. Sutta Goswami replied to the sages, headed by Sanaka, everyone should very attentively listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should glorify his activities and meditate upon him regularly. 254. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, where should the living entity live, abandoning all other places? Ramananda Roy replied, he should live in the holy place known as Vrindavan, or Rajabhumi, where the Lord performed his rasa dance. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 47, Text 61, Uddhava said, let me become one of Vrindavan's herbs and plants that are trampled by the gopis, who gave up all connections with the family and friends and decided to worship the lotus feet of Mukunda. Those lotus feet are sought by all the great saintly persons expert in the study of Vedic literature. So they're described as like 3 types of people reside in Vrindavan, maybe 4, 3. Those who are born there are residents, or Rajavasis, or Brijavasis. They're born there. They died there. There's 4. They die there. That's also considered they living there. Or even though if they're not living there, they're always thinking about it in their mind. That's the fourth type of, like Prabhupada, I'm always thinking the residents in Vrindavan. So those four types of people. So this is recommended as the best place to live. Of course, Navadvip is considered also Vrindavan or Chaitanya's abode. Okay, so continuing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, out of all topics listened to, which is the best for all living entities? Ramananda Roy replied, hearing about the love and affairs between Radha and Krishna is the most pleasing to the ear. As we already read, we're very cautioned about this. Here we go again. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-39, I quoted that. Here we go. They're going to say it again right here. He who faithfully hears about the dealings between Lord Krishna and the gopis in the rasa dance, and who describes these activities, attain to perfectional stage of devotional service, and simultaneously lose his material lusty desires. A liberated person who hears about the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna is not inclined to have lusty desires. One mundane rogue once said that when the Vaishnavas chant the name of Radha, Radha, he simply remembers a barber's wife named Radha. This is a practical example. Unless one is liberated, he should not try to hear about the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. If one is not liberated and listens to a relation of the rasa dance, he maybe remembers his own mundane activities and illicit connections with some woman whose name may also be Radha. In this connection, one should not even try to remember such things. By practicing the regulator principles, one should rise to the platform of spontaneous attraction for Krishna. Then, and only then, should one hear about the Radha Krishna Leela. Although these affairs may be very pleasing both to the conditioned and to the liberated souls, the conditioned soul should not try to hear them. The talks between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are conducted on the platform of liberation. 256. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, among all worshipable objects, which is the chief? Ramananda Roy replied, the chief worshipable object is the holy name of Radha and Krishna and the Hare Krishna mantra. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 3, text 22, in this material world, the living entity's only business is to accept the path of Bhakti Yoga, chant the holy name of the Lord. 257. And what is the destination of those who desire liberation and those who desire sense gratification? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked. Ramananda Roy replied, those who attempt to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord will have to accept bodies like those of trees. And those who are overly inclined towards sense gratification will attain the bodies of demigods. Purport. Those who desire liberation by merging in the existence of God do not desire sense gratification within the material world. On the other hand, they have no information about serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Consequently, they are doomed to stand like trees for many thousands of years. Although trees are living entities, they are non-moving. The liberated soul who merges into the existence of the Lord is no better than the trees. The trees also stand in the Lord's existence because material energy and the Lord's energy are the same. Similarly, the Brahman effulgence is also the energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is the same whether one remains in the Brahman effulgence or in the material energy, because in neither is there a spiritual activity. Literally, because such people want to enjoy themselves like citizens of heaven in the gardens of paradise. They are at least retained their individuality in order to enjoy life, but the impersonalists who try to lose their individuality also lose both material and spiritual pleasure. The last destination of Buddhist philosophers is to become one become just like a stone, which is immovable and has neither material nor spiritual activity. As far as the hard-working karmis are concerned, I'm going to stop right there at the end of that paragraph. Okay, Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindanalaya Tartam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaratam Kandar Vidamaniya Kishesa Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Andaniya Sakale Priya Pridimanti Vasyanti Bhakti Kayanti Gira Bhaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Jaga. Jaya Maya Picha Shira Kole Gota Nidra Jaya Maya Picha Shira Kole Baji Bo Boli Te Habe Baji Bo Boli Da Eshe Samsara Vitore Badibo Kaliya
samsara bitore, bulia rohile to me, avidyara bore, bulia rohile to me, avidyara bore, tomare loite ami. Oinu avatara, tomare loite ami. Oinu avatara, ami bina bandu ara, keache tamara, ami bina bandu ara, keache tamara. Ene jaya shaudi maya, nashi baralagi. Ene jaya shaudi maya, nashi baralagi. Harinama Mahamantra, loud to me Magi. 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 Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu, Charane Prariya. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu, Charane Pariya. Say Hari Nama Mantra, Loilo Magiya. 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 Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. Kota Nidra Jaya Maya, Picha Chira Kole. Kota Jaya Maya, Picha Chira Kole. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tigor. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Kananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radhagalokananda ki jai. Lord Gaurachandra is calling, wake up, sleeping soul, wake up, sleeping soul. How long will you sleep in the lip of a witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the cycle of birth and death. I have descended just to save you. I am your only true friend. Other than me, what friend do you have? I have brought you, and that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you suffer. Take this great chant for deliverance, Maha Mantra, the names of Hari, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, playing at the Lord's lotus. Take shelter of the Harinam mantra, the Lord's holy names. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan today from 4 to 6 and in Chapel Hill in front of the post office. Please come if you're free. Hare Krishna. Chaitodarpanam marjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratimatam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bharata Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Nimata Naranesa Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajani Nanuraga Trinada Pisuni Chena Tarora Pisa Ishuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashu Daraya Vadanam Gadgada Hridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlisha Padam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vinatolam Patomat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to ease, which are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Slow down. Slow. I have no action for them. The holy name of the Lord, humble state of mind. Thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street, One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respect to others. There is in the same mind one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain. So even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastra Ki Jai.